Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Musings of an Earthbound Alien. In today's episode, I have a special treat for you. We're going to be looking at continuing the discussion that I started the last time about age and staying young. And today, I'm going to be talking with Charles O'Dale, Chuck, and stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun, really interesting stuff. Be right back. All right, we're talking to Chuck right now. Chuck is a spry. What are you, Chuck? 70 something?
74.
74.
Going to be 75 orbits around the sun this May.
Okay, well, that's your physical sort of earthly age, if you will. But how do you really feel?
I still feel like I'm 17. I was 17 years old when I joined the Navy,
Yeah.
and my attitude of life, the universe, and everything is still 17. Like I can't leap tall buildings anymore, but still, my attitude is, yeah, I can do anything I want to do.
Okay, I mean, let's face it. You've been in the Navy how many years?
Okay,
Let's
I,
do a recap of how many, because you're 17 right now
yeah,
ish.
I'm 17 right now.
Yeah.
Going on 75. Okay, so what I'll just give you a quick resume of what happened to my life.
Let's see.
Yeah. So I was in high school and thinking, I could do something better than this. So I read this book called by Pugsley. It's Back to Sea or something. What was it called? Yeah, Return to Sea it was called. And I thought, oh yeah, that looks like fun. Let's join the Navy and find out. So of course I joined the Navy, learned how to march and shoot a gun and everything. And I did all kinds of aptitude tests. And they said, Chuck, you have an aptitude for electronics. I said, okay, let's give it a shot, see what happens. Well, I excelled in it. I loved it. I was an electronic warfare technician for 6 years in the regular Navy. And, chasing bad guy submarines, everything, I've stayed, bob around the ocean, stationed up north, just making sure the bad guys stayed on their side of the river type of thing.
Yeah, you were at Alert. You were posted to CFS Alert at one point too, weren't
That's
you?
right. The Alert, I used the world's most northern toilet. That's
Where when you flush, it goes the other direction. Yeah, that's it.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Oh, geez, this is world's most northern anything, bacon and eggs, you name it. It's the world's most northern.
But then
So anyway,
you're in the Navy.
yeah, in the Navy. So I one of my deployments, I came back, and the first time I saw my son, he was 3 months old. So everything happened while I was gone on deployment. So I figured, well, being married in the Navy might not be the best thing to do. So while I was on my deployment, I said, well, what the heck? I put up a whole bunch of resumes all over Ottawa. A place called Computer Devices, I call it. Northern Electric at the time, Mitel, the whole bunch of them that were in Ottawa here. And I went to all the interviews and I got some good job offers. But here's the story. In 1970, in the Navy, as a leading seaman, the equivalent of a corporal, I was making $570 a month. And I thought, wow, I'm in heaven. I'm making a lot of money.
Back then, that was a lot of money.
It was. Well, here, Northern Electric offered me to start $575 a month. So for $5 a month, I tell people I changed my whole life. I left the Navy. As soon as I signed the paper, yes, I accept the job offer. I called my base And fortunately, my divisional chief, he kind of knew my situation. And I said, look, I just signed, I got this job. Can you get me out real quick? So I had to go back to the East Coast. I did an out routine in Gagetown, the old army base there.
I know it. I know it well.
Oh, yes. I'm sure you do. Yes. Yeah. So I handed in my ID card and gave the salute on the way out the gate and headed to Ottawa. So I did 6 years in the regular Navy and 33 years at Nortel, turned into Nortel.
Yeah.
It was a great ride. Both the Navy was a great ride. I loved what I did. Nortel was a great ride. I learned so many things. I went from, again, a good story I like to tell. When you're bobbing around the ocean troubleshooting electronics in the Royal Canadian Navy, you're looking at vacuum tubes, the old vacuum tube circuitry. While you're troubleshooting, you're looking at DC conditions and AC and so on. And you're looking at basically decimeter technology. Well, my final project at Nortel, Northern Telecom, I was running an electron microscope lab. And then I'm doing the same troubleshooting in a microcircuit that I used to do in the Navy with vacuum voltmeters and so on. So I've gone, in my career, my electronic career, I went from decimeters to nanometers. Troubleshooting process exactly the same, but the size was different. So instead of probing with a voltmeter, in a probe,
Yeah.
I used an electron beam with an electron microscope. Very technical. I wrote a paper on it, and if you go to my website, you'll see the paper I wrote on it.
Yeah, and I'll post a link to your website down below after it as well.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's great. Everybody have a good look. I posted my resume there. So I'm offered any high-tech job for $300K a year. I won't take any less because I'm having too much fun being retired.
But that would be the equivalent of 500 and change a month back in the day. Yeah, no problem there. But I mean, you're a pilot. You're a certified pilot. You've been globetrotting in the air and on the ground. You're a bit of an explorer.
Yeah.
You've discovered a few craters.
Yeah.
I'll
give you a story about that. Yeah.
What's the crater story?
Well, here it is. Well, actually, before I joined the Navy, my father and I went trout fishing way up in just north of North Bay, a river called Jocko River. It's on my website, the lake I was in. Now, along this river, the trout fishing back in the 50s, early 60s was great. We just lived on trout the whole time we were there. There was this spring-fed lake that was an offshoot from the main river, and it was a spring-fed lake that fed into the main river. And up on the Jocko River, it's very muddy in that, so that the river itself is totally opaque. It's full of mud and vegetation and so on. You can only see maybe a foot down. But paddling into this offshoot lake that was spring-fed, within 30 feet, I went from muddy, you couldn't see anything, to you could see 30 feet down. It was crystal clear, absolutely crystal clear. And as we were paddling in, and the fishing was not too bad in there as well, my father just casually commented that, son, this is a circular lake and it could be an impact crater. And, being 16, 17 at the time, I said, yeah, Dad, yeah, let's go fishing. So anyway, that sort of stuck with me. And then at home, I don't know if this is showing you how old I am. Front Page Challenge was on. And Dr. Mean from the Royal Ontario Museum was one of the guests. And what he showed was the crater up in northern Quebec,
right?
AKA the Chubb crater. Is now called the Pingula crater. It's on my website. Anybody want to look at it? And he gave a very good dissertation about his first exploration there. And again, the geologists that went there thought it was a kimberlite. A kimberlite is a sort of a tube from the center of the earth that spits out diamonds. And there's a couple of diamond mines up around Yellowknife that basically it's $1 million a day evolution up there. These holes are a mile deep. I flew over it. It was really cool. But anyway, back to the story. Dr. Mean was at the crater, and of course, this thing is a circular crater. It looks like a bowl. It has to be an impact. There can't be any other geological formation that would cause this. And Chubb, the geologist, realized that, yeah, this is not a kimberlite. But they couldn't find anything to identify a structure definitely as an impact. You have to have these things called planar deformation features, which during an impact, the quartz rocks inside the bedrock distort, and they have these features on them that are strictly related to either an impact or a nuclear explosion. So that's two ways of making those things. Shatter cone is another one. There's a lot of shatter cones. Actually, I have one right here. You can actually, if everybody can see real close, yeah, right here. This is a shatter cone. This is from an impact crater, and you notice the cone shape.
Yeah.
And the striations on the rock itself. That only happens during an impact. By an impact of a rock hitting the planet at what, 14 to 20 or 30 kilometers per second. Lots of energy. So the rock is pulverized with that kind of shape. So we're looking for that as well. But up there at Pingulet, they found impact melt, which identified the fact that, yes, it was an impact. So, yeah. So that again, a million-word answer to your 5-word question. How I got into impact craters. So those two things, fishing in this circular latent dead thinks it's an impact, and this circular object structure up north that they explored, and then they showed us on Front Page Challenge.
You've been doing the whole crater thing for a long time. I mean, this is not a new
no, this is not
hobby.
New. So the information was imprinted in there. It was in the brain, but of course, I left home, joined the Navy, did the 6 years in the Navy, got out and started Nortel. Had the high-tech paycheck.
Yeah.
So I got into sailboat racing, another aspect. Flying. I learned how to fly. A side story. My father was in the Air Force during the war, and I kind of joined the Navy to piss him off. He said, "Why don't you join the Air Force?" Nah, I'll go join the Navy.
Well, you could have ended up on the Bonaventure. I mean, that's
there you go. I could have
kind of the best of both worlds.
So after I got out, I thought, well, what the heck, let's give it a shot. So I learned how to fly. And but my wife, at the time, I said, "Well, geez, let's buy an airplane." And she said, "Well, let's buy a house." And I said, "Well, you can't fly a house, but you can live in an airplane." But no, she didn't buy that. She didn't buy that one at all. So it took a while, but I finally, in 1990, actually about 15, almost 18 years after I joined Nortel.
But you'd been flying before you actually owned your own plane. You've been flying anyways, right?
And explored around, and I saw the Brent crater. The Brent crater is just north here of Ottawa. It's within driving distance, and the Holliford crater just to the south of us. So when I bought the airplane, I thought, well, geez, let's go find all the craters. So my quest was to fly over every impact crater in Canada and the States if I could, and I did. And I've got
awesome
documented on my website. And so, and not only that, but being kind of military, I went over all the 1812 battlefields, all the Civil War battlefields, and of course all the geological features. Grand Canyon, flew over that, Golden Gate Bridge. Through the Torngat Mountains, the Rocky Mountains. One of the best flights I did in the airplane was following the Mackenzie River all the way up to the Delta. That is awesome. The mountains, the geology, the river itself, the history behind it. We put Jillian and I, we put our feet in the Arctic Ocean up at Tuktoyaktuk. So, yeah, so keep me young. You got to do stuff. Basically, you do stuff.
Exactly, which is what in the last episode that I did on age, the primer on age, I mean, that's one of the keys is to keep your mind young, but never feel in your physical age. I mean, you've got the biological age, and then you've got this thing in your head that says, well, no, I'm not 60, 50, 70, whatever,
Yeah.
I am this age, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people that I'm using my metric age, which essentially is 20 years younger.
Yeah. 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 What is it? The 16-bit. Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah. Yeah. So, 75 years old. You know, I remember when I turned 30, I was so depressed. I said, holy jeez, am I ever getting old? Now I'm looking
Yeah.
at 30 years old as young punks,
Well, you still hear that. I mean, you
Yeah,
hear,
yeah, yeah.
coworkers, friends, whatever. Oh, I'm 30. Wow, I feel so old. What?
Give me a break, man. You're just starting.
Exactly. I mean, I've been telling people for years that, oh, you're 25, you're still a kid. You haven't even gotten out of diapers yet.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have no life experience. And
no,
that's the other part of it too, is that with that idea that you're not your biological age, you're far younger, there's the whole idea that you've also got that experience, that life experience behind that youth,
yes,
and it just adds to that excitement of living, and being able to do and go places and see things, and the knowledge that, when I went across Canada, for example, that I've got that knowledge of all these different places along the
oh,
trip,
yeah,
and it was wonderful being able to have that as I get to these places. You get to old Quebec City, and you see some of the escarpment and places along that line, or in Toronto, and the Scarborough Bluffs, and
yeah.
you know so it's an exciting time. But
There's so much to
I
see.
mean, you
So
and I
much.
have known each other for a few years now, and we met de-icing planes. I
Yeah,
mean,
believe it or not.
yeah, it's like, I actually thought, believe it or not, that you were no older than 50 odd at that point in time.
Yeah, and I was 60 at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, holy shit, you're how old? I
Yeah.
mean,
Actually,
you were hanging out of a basket spraying glycol on a plane.
yeah, exactly. Having fun, having a ball. That was a hoot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Spreading glycol on an airplane, waving at the kids in the windows. Oh yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. Remember two of us fitting in a bucket. Now that was a
Oh, geez.
challenge.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And the smaller bucket too. That wasn't even that was in a what, MY.
In
No,
MY, the old
yeah,
MY,
one of the
yeah.
smaller buckets up there.
Yeah. How it kept our weights. Holy geez, we're both way over 200 pounds. But anyway, basically feeling young. Another side note here. When I was in the military in the 60s, back then they had every 6 months we had to pass a physical fitness test, and it was a shuttle run, push up, sit up, blah blah blah. And if you didn't pass, you had 3 months to pass, and if you didn't, you were turfed. And a lot of guys were turfed back then. So yeah, on the 5th month, young Chuck, okay, I'll start training for it, and I trained for it, then I passed it, then I didn't do anything for fun. But anyway, it kept me in fairly good shape. So when I left Gagetown, gave the old salute and said, okay, that's it, I'm gone. I'm not going to exercise for another cent for nobody. So about a year later, you're feeling around, I'm all soft and gucky, and man, oh man, I got to get back in shape. So I just thought, what the hell? So I started running, and I became, well, I'll say, I became a fitness evangelist. I got to the point I actually ran 2 marathons. So yeah, I was really dedicated. I go, I'd be running at least 20 miles a week, just for it was nothing. I go on a business trip. And every morning before, we have breakfast, I go out and do a couple-mile run.
Yeah.
It was just something that, again, kept me young. So now I swim. Jillian and I, we when the pool's open again, but we swim a kilometer 3 times a week together. Go to the pool and.
It's good exercise, and you're right. Exercise is a key part of it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, with my knees, I can't do any running or anything like that, and not that I've ran for a long time, not since I got out of the Army. But I know what you mean. You get out of the military, and you stop doing that physicality that you're used to doing,
Yeah.
yeah, you do end up getting soft and pudgy, and you know, it's difficult to get back into it.
It is. It's actually a life change. It has
Yeah.
to be part of your life, and not only that, but you have to like doing it. If you don't like doing it, you're in dead water. I loved running. You know, it was just I was off meditating while you're running and everything. I made a lot of major decisions while I was running. So I'll put it that way.
Good
You
and
know,
bad.
yeah. You know my marriage situations over the years. So, so yeah, you do some lot of deep thinking while you're running. Kind of
Now,
cool.
and you're back into sailing now. You've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
back
So
into sailing for a couple of years now, I think.
yeah, we sold the airplane. Jillian and I, we finally, Jillian and I, together, the lady I'm with, and I'm just loving her. She and I have flown across Canada, left to right, top to bottom, basically from Halifax all the way to the Rocky Mountains, to the Pacific Ocean, all the way up over the Arctic Circle to Tuktoyaktuk. We put our feet in the water in the Arctic Ocean up there. So yeah, so we got to the point where um, around Ottawa here, we have to fly at least 3 hours to fly anywhere we haven't flown in it before. So if you're looking at nowadays, it ain't cheap to keep an airplane in the air. If you're looking at the small airplanes going by, you're looking at least $2 a minute to keep that
Hmm.
airplane in the air.
Right.
Now, back in the days when I had the high tech paycheck, piece of cake, let's go do it. But now you're on pension, and I was working for Air Mag spraying airplanes for minimum wage or less. I thought, yeah, the old airplane. So we made the decision. We sold the airplane, and the toy market, the bottom of the toy market is gone. So I was one day, Jillian and I again, we stopped at the Nepean Sailing Club, and I said, oh well, let's look through the catalog, see what's for sale. And I saw an awesome boat. I just fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. So I looked at her, and she looked at me. I said, well, the clock's ticking. What do you think? The next thing you know, we're on the Ottawa River, sailing up and down, having a great time.
Now, this is out of the Nepean Sailing Club.
Yes, Nepean Sailing Club. It's
How far can you get on the Ottawa River though from there? Because you can't get down the Ottawa River
well,
because of the
again, I'll
rapids.
tell you something. Everybody thinks, the Ottawa River, that stinks. Why in the hell would you sail? Well, okay, I've sailed quite a bit. I've sailed a sailboat all the way from Kingston. We went through the Oswego Canal to New York, sailed to Bermuda and back. I've sailed through the Great Lakes many, many times. I've chartered boats in the Virgin Islands. So I know sailing. Now, the Ottawa River, you think, there's hardly anything there, but it is very challenging sailing. You get out there, the wind is different every day. The shoals are in the same place, but the wind's different. And
Right.
you have to be on your toes all the time. It's not a case of you get out there, put the autopilot on, get the beer out, and just relax. No. You're really sailing. And of course, you're on the river, and there's another sailboat, and everybody's saying, yeah. It's all leisurely. No. You get two sailboats together, there's a race going on. There's always a race out there. So to sail from the Nepean Sailing Club at the Ottawa end all the way to the Arnprior Dam, if the wind is right, if I start at 7 in the morning, I could be there late in the evening. Now, you could spread it out to 3 days. You get it as far as, Penny's Point, then Moore Island, then to Arnprior, or do it all in one day. And we've done it all. And it's very, very good. We just drop the hook, put the awning up, relax, open the rum and coke, and just relax and have a good time. And of course, every night's a challenge. We've been out there in thunderstorms. I've been out there on that river that the rain was coming down so hard, you had to yell to the person next to you to get the conversation. That's how loud the rain was on the water and on the boat.
Right.
I've seen boats get knocked over. Basically, a knockover is when the boat goes from straight up to right on the side. And actually on our trip to Bermuda, we were knocked over one night, and we were over for about 5 seconds. That was the longest 5 seconds I've experienced, I'll tell you.
Because you're talking ocean.
Yeah, you're talking oceans. It gets really lumpy out there. Oh yeah, even on the ships I was in with the Navy, it gets real lumpy out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and back in those days, those ships were they were built a lot different than the ones today.
Yes. Yes.
They handled differently. They were uh, they were pretty. I mean, if you were a sailor on one of those, I imagine it's a lot different sailing
Very
than
much different.
Navy today.
Back in the old the Cadillacs we used to have, like the destroyers that Canada designed, they're basically designed again to uh, 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 function against the Second World War type technology. And of course, technology has changed so fast. But those old ships, the steamers, were very nice to sail on because you could get out on the upper deck at your watch and just watch the sunset, have your tot and watch the ocean. But now with the new ships, with the radiation hazard, you can't go on the upper deck. You get fried with the microwaves. So you might as well be on a submarine these days. I'm not trying to discourage anybody from joining the Navy, but the Navy was different in those days.
Yeah, and with the new ships when they finally get online, I can imagine what the radar setup will be
Yeah.
on those because
Oh
there
yeah.
is not much upper deck on that one. That's all. It's
No.
almost all
No.
enclosed.
You get fried if you go on the upper deck in those times. Yeah. Uh,
Well, okay. In your own experience, then in your own life, what does it come down to as far as staying young? I mean, you start out with the idea that you're not your physical age. I mean, I know it would be difficult for someone that feels in their 60s today to say, I don't feel that I'm in my 60s. I feel like I'm in my 40s or whatever. That would be a very difficult thing to do. But how would you look at life? What's your take on it?
I tell you, the whole take is your attitude. My attitude is there's nothing I can't do if I put my mind to it. Uh, it's not something that I'm waking up every morning and say, I'm going to think young today. But no, I get up this morning and I look forward to the day because I have so much going on. Um, Actually, one of the latest project we have is Jillian. I taught her how to play chess, and she's almost beating me. So, and I'm not a slouch and a chess player. As you know, we played against at Aeromag there.
Yeah,
There was a few guys that could play chess, and anyway, that's another story. So yeah, so things like that. Just sitting reading a book. There are so many books I want to read. We hike a lot. We do a lot of hiking, sailing in the summer. The swimming we do. It just I'm doing things all the time. I'm sitting down. With you this morning, I was busy with other stuff, and we got together and said, "Okay, what the heck? Let's do this." So it's a case of you can't deliberately say, "I'm going to be young." You have to be young.
exactly.
You have to be there. It's not a case of I can't turn a switch and say I'm young. You know,
Yeah,
that's it. I'm 17. I'm thinking 17, turning 75.
yeah, and I mean, the two of you, because you're doing all this stuff every day.
Yeah,
I mean, it's that your mind is never at rest other than when you're sleeping.
yeah,
And that really is part of it. I mean, that the whole idea that you're educating yourself every single day.
yes,
You're learning whether it's about some aspect of craters and impacts and the various layers that you've got to study and whether you're drilling or not drilling, where they're located, the timelines involved. I mean, that's a thought process that you're learning about each and every time. Sailing, whether you're, you know, the only thing I know about sailing is what I've seen on old movies,
yeah,
swashbucklers and
yeah. The old
Admiral Nelson days,
yeah, yeah,
but there's something to do each time you're on a boat. You're not just sitting there with the engine gun and you're moving the sails, whether it's a jib or a
yeah.
mainsail,
This is
and the
every day, and
ropes.
you're always
You know,
doing.
so
Actually, you said it. Learning something new every day. That's the key as well.
yeah,
You said it there, and that is true. As a point of, I'm just reading a book about meteorites. I know I've read so many books about meteorites, but a new one just came out and I'm reading it, and I found something new in there. Essentially, 75,000 years ago was the first item that a human made that recorded what he did. In other words, you're looking at us now, we got books, your books I've got here. We have so much that we can learn. But go back 75,000 years and everything was by verbal.
Right.
I taught my son this, and then his son taught his son this. It wasn't written down or anything. So 75,000 years ago was the first time something was written down. I just learned that. That's kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But what's the next big adventure for you then? Skydiving?
That's something I will not do. I definitely, both my sons did it. I'll tell you another story.
Yeah, jumping out of a serviceable airplane is not the best thing, but I mean, I have said I'm going to do it once I lose a little bit more weight. I'm on the track, but we'll see when I get there.
It's funny. As I say, I've flown the airplane left, right, top to bottom. I knew my airplane so much, I strapped it on basically. But here I am up there flying, and I was thinking to myself, if I open this door, could I jump out of this thing? There's no way I'd jump out of this thing. But anyway, as I said, both my sons started skydiving, and I have to tell you, I was down in Gananoque. They were doing the skydiving there, and my son was doing free flight for a while, free diving, and then open the chute. And so he was up there, and I saw this black dot coming down, and the lady beside me says, "God, doesn't that worry you?" And I said, "Nah, I can make another one."
I could just imagine the look on her face at that point.
Yeah, right. So that's kind of my attitude of life.
Hey, I know my son skydived, and it was pretty interesting watching him come down as well.
Yeah. I knew him as well. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's right too. You guys were also. He was also de-icing planes with us.
Right. Yeah, that's where we met again. Yeah, I met him the first time I saw him. He was a corporal in the reserve, coming in for his interview, and I said, "Oh, an old timer." So yeah,
good times.
I made it to Chief Warrant Officer. That was pretty good. That was a good tooth.
That's a pretty decent rank.
Yeah. Well, the officers were afraid of me, and everybody below me was afraid of me. So that was kind of cool.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for the interview and little bit of life experience that you've had. Not much. I mean, you've got a couple of dozen years left.
Oh, I'm still going strong. Yeah.
Let me ask you the $64 question then. I already know when I see middle age, when they say, "Oh, you've reached middle age," but to you, what's middle age?
I think it was turning 30. When I told you my 30th birthday, I was so, I'd have to tell you, it really depressed me. I said, "Oh, geez, I'm getting old, my God." And I realized, okay, you're not a young 30 anymore. You're 30, you got young kids and, mortgage and so on. Okay, I think, life is catching up to you, Chuck. I think that was it.
See, I don't see middle age till I hit 80.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I just can't see it.
Yeah. Well, middle age, I guess we have to define what it is. I realized I wasn't 17. Physically, I wasn't 17 anymore. I couldn't leap tall buildings, but I could still run 5 miles, no problem.
Yeah.
So, now I'm like you, the old knees and everything. I can run, but I'm not as fast, and I don't enjoy it anymore. So I do the aerobics with swimming, and that does it.
But the activity is still there.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to brag here. There's a across the bay swim from the Nepean Sailing Club to Britannia Yacht Club. It's a 3-kilometer race, and I came first place in my age group, 70 and over.
Nice.
A couple of years ago when I swam it. So
awesome.
Not only could I swim 3 kilometers, I came first in my race. And actually, the way it was working out, you had this timer that went off every time when you jumped in. So it wasn't a mass start. It was one after the other. So when I come on, the clock stopped. And after, I didn't know I won until all the times were set, and I beat the guy in second place by 10 seconds. A 3 kilometer race, 10 seconds. I couldn't believe it.
And
So yeah,
that was how long ago?
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good. But that just goes to prove what we've been saying
Yeah.
is that
That's right.
age
Yeah.
and physical activity and mental awareness and acuities and just the zest for life is
Yeah.
not about a chronological time period. It's
Yeah.
about the state of mind more than anything.
Precisely. Precisely.
Yeah.
If you have time, I can tell you one more story about physical stuff.
Go for it.
Okay, I got into cross country skiing as well. And of course, cross country skiing, you get into this cross country races. Well, there's one race from Montebello to Lachute. And that was an all day race. It was pretty good. It was at the time I was running marathons. So I was in really great shape. I'm not a super skier. I can ski, but I'm not a super skier. Well, starting off in Montebello, it was dark. And then by the time we got to light, there's this steep hill, very, very steep. And we hit this hill. And of course, I was in such great shape. I was just like an army tank. I went up that hill straight up. You know, guys were huffing and puffing. I was passing guys left, right, and center. So I get to the top of the hill and we're just going over the edge. Then I realized, okay, Chuck, you're here. You're here now with the super skiers, the guys that know how to ski. You don't know how to ski So that was the adrenaline rush of my life, was getting down the other side with this group of professionals. And here's me in the center. I survived. I made it to the bottom. I didn't wipe out. I didn't wipe anybody out. A couple of guys wiped out in front of me, but I made her down. So that's my adrenaline story for physical fitness.
When was that?
That was, this was in the mid 70s, almost 1980.
Okay, not that long ago.
Yeah, not that long ago. Yeah.
Seriously, the mid 80s. I mean, I was in the Army in the mid 80s. I mean, my 10 years was 80 to 90. So
okay.
It doesn't seem that long ago.
It seems like yesterday. You know, I look at basic training and I just finished it a little while ago.
Yeah, you and I can join back up. They're looking for new people again.
I think, and we can do it, by golly.
I think we can. If any of the recruiters out there are looking for a couple of new bodies, give us a call.
Yeah, we could do it. We could do it.
We're all set.
Yeah, we're ex-professional killers. Yeah, it was funny at Nortel. They asked you what your hobbies are, and I said professional killer, and I said no, we don't do that.
Listen, we know how to shoot.
We do. Yes, we do.
We're old hats with a bayonet.
Yeah.
On a real rifle, though, on an old FN, not this new Tonka toy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7.62. Yeah.
Yep. All right, sir. Well, listen, I appreciate this.
It was a hoot, Bill. Nice to see you.
It's been nice going down memory lane and talking about that whole age thing. I mean, to me, that's important, and that's why I wanted to do the second part, is to let people know that just because you're a specified chronological age means absolutely nothing. That you've got that opportunity to expand your life, quit the smoking, cut back, not necessarily eliminate the drinking, but just exercise and educate the mind, even if it's whether it's a comic book, graphic novel, sci-fi, historical. It doesn't make any difference. Just read. Get the mind going.
Exactly.
Jump out of a plane.
If you do it, I'll do it.
You're on. It'll be at least another year before I do it, but I'm gonna do it. I'll call you. We'll set up a date and make sure we're doing that.
Give me a call.
Even when I was scuba diving, I'm certified rescue diver, advanced diver, through Patty, and that was during the mid 2000s, I guess, when I was doing that. But even doing that there's so many guys that were in their chronological 60s and 70s, and a couple of guys that were early 80s.
Yeah.
But they were
Oh,
strapping on tanks and, wetsuits and dry suits and just getting in the water and swimming in the St. Lawrence River is not the easiest. They've got a
yeah,
little bit of current in that,
that's right.
but you
I'll,
see people that are keeping young that way.
I'll close off by saying this. Being a senior is a privilege given to very few.
Yep. Excellent. All right, sir. Thanks a lot, eh?
It was great.
All
We'll
right.
talk.
Cheers. Take care.